This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast that takes a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're chatting with a pair of swimmers who impressed in a season-opening dual meet sweep for the Bobcats. Plus, women's basketball is 3-1 after splitting a pair of games in Rhode Island over the weekend, and cross-country wrapped up the fall sports calendar at the NCAA Championships. That's coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The women's basketball team dropped a close one Friday night in Rhode Island to Alberta's Magnus by a score of 68-66, but they bounced back Saturday to win convincingly by a score of 76-50 over MIT. Junior Elsa Daulerio was named the Anchor Women All-Tournament Team as she recorded a double-double on Friday and dished out a career-high 5 assists to go along with 50% shooting from the field on Saturday. Daulerio and the Bobcats are 3-1 and ranked 22nd in the country by the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. Well, Elsa, this year, obviously, I talked a little bit with Sarah Hughes about this, but you and the team in general, not going to surprise anybody this year. Mm-hmm. For you in particular, they're double-teaming you every time, basically, you get the ball. How are you adjusting that? What are you kind of learning through these first few games?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of expected this to happen, and you're right, it's been very consistent in every game so far, so I feel like I'm pretty good at passing out of doubles, and I know my teammates are out there and are going to hit that shot, so it works out in our offense, and just sharing the ball. Love it.
Career-high 5 assists there against MIT, so what in particular was opening up in terms of your teammates getting open for you?
Getting the ball into the low post was working, especially in the first half. So I think that's where they kind of started to double a lot. And again, my teammates were just in the right place at the right time and just getting open off of those doubles. So it really worked out for us. We
were talking a little bit off-air about this, but that gym obviously has been a source of maybe frustration. Last year, NCAA tournament, this year, the first game against Alberta's Magnus. So what did it feel like to finally get a win in that gym in Rhode Island there against MIT on Saturday?
It was great. We really just put all the pieces together, especially after our loss on Friday night. We knew what we had to do, and we were just definitely ready to win in that gym and start fresh off of that game.
I feel like even the Friday game, I mean, you came storming back. I know I saw the team switch to a little bit more of a zone look. I know fouls were an issue in that game, but did that give you confidence going forward that you were able to almost pull off a big comeback there, right?
Yeah, we were really close in that sense, and I think we started that zone kind of in that fourth quarter. So it did feel good to kind of get a good comeback there. It was just a tough game, definitely, with the fouls, and they were playing a lot of one-on-one offense, so that was definitely something to adjust on. Anytime,
there's a lot of fouls, other players weren't used to having to play, had to play a little bit. I mean, It's a good experience for some of the younger players. You as a junior, what have you seen from, this big first-year class we have?
It was so great to watch them play, especially this weekend. Everybody got minutes, but we were really focusing on rebounds this weekend, and everyone just did such a great job, especially those freshmen coming in, getting big minutes, staying pretty poised on the floor, which we love to see.
Yeah, certainly. And then for you, your fellow post players, you have Danielle Adams, who you work with a lot. And then also now, she got to practice a little bit last year, but now she's playing Petra Kuntz. What's it like having her not only in practice now, but also in games?
Oh, it's awesome. Definitely a battle in practice with us. But her length is so amazing on offense and on defense. So it's been great to watch her get her first college minutes, but also playing with her is super fun, and hopefully we'll get some more minutes with her in too.
You got a game coming up tomorrow. We're talking on Monday, so when people listen to this, that's actually tonight, Tuesday, against Southern Maine on the road. What are some points of emphasis? You just came from practice. What were some big points of emphasis today in practice?
Yeah, we were working a lot on our offense because they tend to switch screens, so kind of finding those mismatches, I guess you could say, working off that, and then just having the same defensive intensity, and I think just coming off this weekend, just really playing together and having fun and just playing loose, because that's when we play our best.
Did you feel like you were playing a little bit more loose on Saturday than on Friday, perhaps?
Definitely, yeah, that was a big focus for us.
What else really changed, day one to day two kind of there?
just our mentality in general, I would say. Again, with that defensive intensity, and then offensively sharing the ball a lot because we knew their defense was gonna double, and just having those special moments with each other and celebrating each other is great for us.
Look at the schedule coming up. You got a couple more road games. You got Southern Maine Tuesday, UNE Sunday, then you're back home Tuesday against Colby in a non-conference game. That's going to be an alumni gym. That should be a good one, right? I mean, you played 2 very close games with them last year.
We did, yes. Really excited for that, especially at home. Yeah, we're excited for these Maine games coming up. Yeah, we're ready to win against every Maine team.
Yeah, looking to win the state, right?
Yeah, win the state.
4 straight games against teams from Maine. And then looking even further ahead, I wanted to touch on this. How excited are you to play the University of Maine at their place on December 21st? That's a little different, right?
Very different, yeah. We're super excited. I mean, it's just a great opportunity for us to play against some great competition, obviously, but also just play against a D1 team. They're really good. You all made it to the NCAA tournament, I'm sure you know. But yeah, so really excited for that. And to also play in their gym will be kind of cool.
Have you been there to their gym? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there to watch games and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever played in that gym?
Never played in it. But it seems like it has some really good energy in there, and they pack that gym, so.
It's small, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like an alumni vibe, honestly.
That'll definitely be interesting. People should definitely come out to Orono on the 21st to support the Bobcats in that game. But yeah, looking to win the state of Maine here, coming up with, again, the next 6 games, 5 of them are against teams from Maine. And we got Mainer here, Elsa Daulerio. Any other thoughts you want to share on the weekend and where the team kind of stands right now, 3-1 start?
Especially off this weekend, we know how to move forward, and that's really just being together and playing together and having lots of fun. So we're really excited to get some more games in here.
Sounds good. Bobcats on the road. You can catch them in Gorham Tuesday, 5:30. Catch them in Biddeford at UNE Sunday at 1 o'clock. Elsa Daulerio, thanks so much.
Thank you.
The swim teams swept Wesleyan in a dual meet on Saturday to begin their season. A number of Bobcats turned in impressive performances, with first-year Nate Oppenheim announcing his presence with 4 victories, including 2 top 10 performances in program history. And Nate Oppenheim is our male Bobcat of the week. Well, Nate, first of all, introduce yourself to the Bates fans out there. Your first year from Connecticut. How did Bates get on your radar for college? What made you want to come up here to compete and to study?
During the recruiting process, I was trying to keep as many options as I could open. I was taking on a lot of visits, seeing what I liked, and I came to Bates, and I fell in love with the campus and the team and the coaching staff.
When did you start swimming, growing up? I mean, pretty young in terms of competitively, perhaps, because most people learn how to swim, but when did you start really getting into it competitively?
Yeah, I started at 8. I started on a summer swim league, and I really loved it. So I tried out for a club team, and I've been swimming ever since.
What made you enjoy it so much, I guess? What makes swimming kind of your favorite sport?
I'm not sure. I think there's something to me that's satisfying about, really being in the zone and feeling very smooth in the water. And I've always had a little bit of natural talent for it. So I think that helped propel my interest in it, especially when I was very young.
Excellent. And then kind of what's your maybe favorite event to compete in? Because there's also different events, right? There's different distances, different types of swimming. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I swim a variety of events, but I'd have to say my favorite is the 200 breaststroke. It's just kind of become my baby over the years. I've put a lot of time into it and a lot of work on my technique and strategy.
Well, I mean, speaking of the 200 breaststroke, I believe that's one of the events that you are a top 10 all time at Bates already, right? After one meet. So how does that feel? What's that like to already be on some top 10 lists?
It feels good. It feels good. I definitely am excited for what's to come for the rest of the season, and I feel like this meet was a really good starting point for me.
Yeah, because you're 8th in the 200 breaststroke now all time, but also 200 IM, another one. Obviously, that's a variety of different strokes during one race. So what's the IM like for you to compete in that as well?
That one's tough, especially at that meet specifically. It was tough because I was already 2 events deep by the time I was swimming that. So that one hurt. But that event, it definitely favors the breaststrokers a little bit, which is my area of expertise. So I can usually throw together a pretty solid IM race.
So take us through kind of the experience, being your first year, your first collegiate meet. What really stood out about, making the trip down there to Wesleyan?
Yeah, it was actually ironically, as a freshman, super nostalgic because I grew up swimming at Wesleyan, being from Connecticut. So it was cool to kind of go back there and swim at this pool that I've been swimming at basically my whole life. But it was super great. The energy was there. We pulled off a pretty great win. So it was just good times all around.
So yeah, homecoming for you right away. I mean, did you have a lot of
Yeah.
family and friends there?
Yeah, so my family came out. Some people I know from my club team or I have one friend from my club team who is swimming at Bates next year. He
Hmm.
came to watch the meet. So yeah, that was super exciting.
Excellent. Then, I mean, just in terms of like collegiate training and whatnot, what's kind of your focus this year, you think, in terms of, trying to get better each week? Because I know collegiate training might be a little bit different than club. I don't know, but we'll take us through kind of that in terms of what you're kind of focused on.
Yeah, the biggest difference I would say for club to collegiate training for me has been the separation of different groups within a practice. So we'll have the sprint group, we'll have the mid distance group, and we'll have the distance group. I kind of fall in the mid distance group. Sometimes I'll do some distance group practices if I need to work on a little bit longer swimming. But it's been really nice to be able to specialize on certain different distances and events because coming from club swimming, I've been training to swim everything from the shortest events to the longest just to try and see like where my most potential is. But now that I'm in college, I can kind of narrow it down and really focus on the events that I think I can succeed in and my coaches think I can succeed in. And I think that's the biggest difference. And so far, um, it's going really well for me. I feel very good in the water.
Who are some of the people you're mainly training with? Who are some of the guys like you're getting to know pretty well early on here?
Yeah, I would say the biggest people in my group that I'm training with Liam Friedlander and Tim Johnson. They're both sophomores. Liam swims a little bit more butterfly and mid distance to distance free, so we train together on a lot of freestyle sets. Tim is a backstroker, but he is also has a really solid IM, so we train a lot of that together. But it's good to train with everybody, and every practice is a little bit different because there are two time slots. There's one for earlier, but if you have a class conflict, you swim a little bit later. So every practice of the week, I'm with a slightly different group. So it's kind of nice.
Well, you mentioned classes. I mean, as a first year, what has that adjustment been like for you? Kind of, the college courses combined with the training.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's a lot more autonomy than I'm used to, but I would say that my high school definitely prepared me well for the rigor of college courses, and I think I'm doing very well overall so far.
Excellent. And then, when I talk to swimmers, they always talk about how much they enjoy relays. You were part of the 200-yard freestyle relay team, which prevailed there against Wesley, and that's obviously a sprint for each swimmer. What was that race like? Take us through that one.
Yeah, that one, that was hard. That was after my three 200s of the meet. I got up on the blocks maybe about 2 minutes after finishing my 2 IM. I was standing there breathing heavy on the blocks. But I think that there's a certain type of energy you can tap into on relays that you can't for individual events. So I still feel really good about my swim. Even though I was exhausted, I still managed to put a good time in and secure the win for the team. So
Yeah, I know the men's team has a lot of guys abroad right now. So,
yes.
I mean, so a lot was put on your shoulders maybe as a first year. What's that like to, know that, there's a lot of guys who are going to be coming back in January and this team could possibly do some big things, right?
It's really exciting. Obviously we have Max Corey coming back. He's a huge point scorer for the team. I'm excited to see what we can put together in terms of relay. I mean, our sprint group with our with the addition of our freshman class, our sprint group is looking very strong. I think we're going to be a huge problem for the NESCAC in terms of the relays. Um, and I think that our class especially has a lot of variety in what we swim. We got two distance swimmers on the men's side. Um, we've got like a mid-distance backstroker. We've got myself, and we've got a few sprint freestylers. So yeah, we've got good depth and good variety, and I think that especially with the junior class coming back, and swimming with us for the rest of the season. We're in a place where we're going to have really good depth going into championship season.
Training at Bates. We talked a little bit about that, but you do have the training trip in December, which is pretty well known. People look forward to it. What have you heard about it? I mean, it's going to be your first training trip, but are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I know that that's a big event in the year that everybody says that they really love, and I'm excited to it. I know it's going to be really tough on all of our bodies, but we're all going to be going through it together, and we're going to be in Florida. So how bad could you really feel?
Well, then you'll be coming back in January and a bunch of home meets this year.
Yeah.
How much are you looking forward to swimming at Tarbell Pool in front of the fans? Because it's a smaller environment maybe than some other pools, but I know it gets pretty loud.
It's really exciting. I really like Tarbell. It's hard to tell from the perspective of like anybody watching it or not swimming it, but certain pools are just faster than other pools for some reason. And Tarbell is a very fast pool. The temperature is good, the blocks are good, the walls are good, and I'm really excited to get in and race. We raced a little bit in Tarbell for our team in our squad meet a few weeks ago, and that was a really good day for racing. I'm really excited to get some teams up to Tarbell and swimming against them.
Well, I think Peter mentioned that you already set some pool records, right? Is that
Yeah, I did unofficially because it was an inter squad, so there were no officials, so you can't count it. But I did swim the 100 IM and unofficially break the team record. But it's hard to count because of the fact that there are no officials.
yeah.
But I'm really excited. And the 100 IM, you don't swim it much. It's not a common event. It's not at most meets. So I get one more opportunity to swim it, and that's at Maine State, which is coming up. So I'm real excited to do that.
Yeah, that'll be up in Waterville here in early December. I mean, I know it's all about the team, but are you looking at some of those school records and saying, okay, I'm going after those? What are maybe some school records you're going to be going after closer to championship season, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm most definitely looking at that 200 breaststroke record. I think that with my current personal best, I would already fall within a good range of where I want to be. And I think that I can definitely in that event specifically, I'm gonna honestly I'm going to try and win it at NESCACs. It's gonna be tough. We got some great breaststrokers in the NESCAC, but I think that I can definitely do it.
Yeah, the 200 breaststroke record currently held by Nate Summer. He set it in 2023. These records have been falling, it seems like every year. So hopefully we'll see more of those this year. Well, Nate, any other thoughts you wanted to share on your first collegiate meet at Wesley we haven't got to talk about yet?
I know that a lot of our team got put in a lot of tough events in a row, and so I think that one was designed to hurt us a little bit, to make it hurt. But I'm real proud of the team and the win we put together. We saw some amazing swimming, so I'm really excited for what the season holds.
Excellent, Nate Oppenheim, our male Bobcat of the week. 4 events you entered and 4 you won there down there at Wesley. And thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
On the women's side, senior captain Stephanie Tropper also won all 4 of her races, including a pair of relays. She continues to combine strong distance swimming with outstanding sprints as well, and she is our female Bobcat of the week. Well, first of all, one of the captains this year for the Bobcats, Stephanie. So take us through a little bit. Well, what's it like leading this team? Because, it's a big team in terms of numbers. So what's it like being one of the captains?
It's been really fun so far. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be a captain of this team. I think we have a lot of awesome women and men. And although we're separate teams in a sense, it's really nice to get to work with everybody. I think it's been really fun organizing things inside of the pool and outside of the pool. And I think what I work really hard on being captain is leading as a good role model for everybody. And I think it's been an awesome opportunity to work on that and get to know everybody a bit more.
Terrific. And then you had your first meet of the year, of course, this past weekend down there at Wesleyan, swimming against, your former associate head coach, Vanessa Williamson. What's that experience like? Because you did it last year here at home, and now it's time going on the road.
It was so much fun seeing Vanessa. When I saw her, I immediately went over, gave her a hug, saw their assistant coach, Emmy, who also used to swim here, which was great to see her and check in how they're doing. I played with her dog Milo for a while during the warm-up, which was pretty fun. And it was just great to see how she's developed her program and wishing us luck still. Just knowing that Vanessa was always hoping for the best for us was an awesome feeling at that meet.
So you entered 4 races and you won all of them. You won the 500 freestyle, the 1,000-yard freestyle, and then also a couple of relays, some sprint relays. So take us through kind of the races. What stood out to you?
I think what stood out was that I got to go from the longest thing they had there to the shortest events possible. The relay was first, and I just did that knowing that we had to win. You want to start off the meet winning. It's good points. It's a great feeling for the team to start off with a win. So I went, did my part on that relay, and jumped in the warm down pool. Knew I had to get ready for a complete opposite event in the 1,000. There was a little bit of a mix up with the scoreboard, so I had enough extra time in the warm down to feel a bit better. And swimming that 1,000, I just really wanted to win. This point in the season is not so much about times. I just want to score points for the team. So I spent that 1,000 just fighting for the win, and it was an awesome feeling to touch and know that we're starting off the meet really strong with a relay win, and the first event's an individual win. During the 500, I just wanted the same thing. I was there to win. I knew what I had to do, and I got it done. And then it came down to our last relay. We were all pretty tired. It's a long meet. We'd have a long week of practice before us, and everybody swam great, and we just touched that wall first. It's a great feeling. It was really great for the freshmen who were on the relays to feel like their first college win, and I think that was the most special part of the relays for sure. I was like, remember, this is like your first college race and your first college win, and they were so happy, and I think that was a really great feeling.
Awesome. And then we've talked a little bit about this before, but you kind of convinced Coach to let you do sprints, right? Because you were distance.
Well,
and then that changed, or?
I am definitely still distance.
Yeah.
I still train with all of them every day.
Yep.
But he's kind of come around to the idea that I can actually sprint too. It's really fun. I know that I'll always be a distance girl at heart, and I have to do those extra hard yards to make myself better. But I love getting the opportunity to sprint on relays and occasionally get 100 or 200 in a meet. I think it's really special to be able to do both things because I get to like experience the 10 minutes of swimming in silence by myself and then go over to those relays where we're all screaming and cheering. And it's a really special feeling being able to just flip the switch and do that. I've worked really hard at both types of events, and I'm really happy where I've ended up.
You know, it's funny you mentioned swimming in silence. I feel like, like the 1,000-yard freestyle is very different from a 200 freestyle relay where everyone's going 50 yards each. I mean, take us through like the different experience there, because I feel like one is super intense. It's over in less than 2 minutes, and the other is a little bit more of a grind.
Yeah, relays. I think the best part about them is the cheering behind the blocks, just like screaming for each other. High fives are the most special part of relays to me. You get to like talk to all your teammates when you're hopping up on the blocks. Just the pep talks are awesome. And it just goes by so quick. I've learned that like when I swim 50s, you only have 24 seconds to do everything right. So you have no time for mistakes. And I've been working really hard on execution in my 50s just because I have no time and so few opportunities to do that. So I think getting really excited beforehand and like keeping the energy really high is really important to those relays and shorter races. But for the 1,000 and anything long like that, I definitely have to put myself into a good mindset. And I think to me, having a really good counter is what helps me. Someone who I can like rely on and know that they'll be there counting and shaking the sign when I need it. I definitely try and get a song stuck in my head to make the time go by quicker, or think of things. I think of all the practices that I've done to get me there, especially, and be like, okay, yesterday we did 10 100s. I can do 1,000, just put it together. Like, I've been working hard enough, and that's kind of what I think about mostly. Seeing the numbers go up and up definitely makes me be like, okay, only 8 more laps. That's a 200, and breaking it up. But other than that, I just think of everything that I've done to get me that far, and I think just locking in on the race is the best way to do it.
So who's your counter this year?
I had my friend Emily count for my 1,000, and What's funny is last year at NESCAC, she counted for one of my races, and she didn't hold the sign low enough, and so I didn't see it at all, and I'd completely forgotten about that. She's one of my closest friends, and when I got out, she goes, "Were you able to see my counting this time?" And I was laughing so hard because this time I did see her counting.
Good, yeah.
It was awesome, and then I had a freshman count for my 500, and I think I can always hear the counters screaming and, feel their energy because they're right next to you, and I really appreciate the energy from all the girls who help count for me.
Great. What songs do you try to get stuck in your head? Any particular favorites?
I don't know about specific songs. Definitely just high energy songs.
Yeah.
I listen to Nicki Minaj pretty often. I think she's really good for getting you ready. Usually rap gets me going. Just anything with a really fast beat just makes me excited to swim and kind of distracts from what's about to happen.
Excellent. So as one of the captains, I'm curious, your observations of the team as a whole, right? So what were some things you really took away watching your teammates compete?
It goes to even before the meet. I know a lot of people were worried about the meet, and I kept trying to reassure them, being like, you will be okay. Win or lose your events, you will be okay. The world will keep spinning, and you have another practice to go to after, and that's what's really important, to keep your eye on the prize later in the season, not that specific moment. And I think it was really great to see everybody develop through this first meet. A lot of us were just I guess shaking off the rust of not swimming all summer or not racing since last spring. And so as people got into the meet, it was really impressive to see everybody just race and remember why they're doing this and why they love it. And I think it was really awesome to see the freshmen do their first college meet. I just remember being back, when I was a freshman, my first college meet, it was oh my goodness, this is a whole nother level of swimming. And so I think that seeing that switch flip in their brain was super cool. And I just think as a team, we did an awesome job on the deck this first meet. A big thing we pride ourselves on is no one is ever sitting down when people are racing. You always have someone cheering for you. You always have someone behind the block saying, good luck, good job. And I think as a team, we really stand out there. And it's just great to know that everybody on my team, whether they're my best friend or not, will always be cheering. And it's a great feeling.
Excellent. So no meets this weekend, but the following weekend you're at Colby for the main collegiate invite Friday and Saturday. So a 2-day event. What's this event like? And what do you tell, maybe some of those first years what they could expect? Because it's a lot of events, right?
Yeah. So at Maine State, we have 3 different sessions, one Friday night, one Saturday morning, and then a little bit of a break and Saturday night. It's a tough meet on paper. We're expected to swim at least 2 individuals each session, and then you have relays that just get added on top. And a lot of the events you swim aren't your main events. You'll catch me in some stroke events, which we know that's not where I frequently enter myself, but it's a good way to test yourself. And I think the best part about it is you get to swim against great other college swimmers and see what it's like at a bigger meet and just prep yourself for what's going to be like in the future at CBB or NESCACs. And what I would tell everybody going to this meet is take it one race at a time. If you have a great first event, I don't really even remember what's much on the first day. If you have a great first day, that doesn't say anything about what the rest of your swims are going to be like. You have to keep yourself in the right headspace. You have to keep warming up well. What PC always says to us is you have to win warm-up, win breakfast. And I think it's really important to continue doing that as the meet goes along and not focus or dwell on one single race. Great race, awesome. Keep getting yourself ready for the next one. Bad race, whatever, put it away. You still have however many more. I know that I'm going to swim probably 8 to 10, if not more events. One of them will probably be the mile. And you just got to remember that there's more, and there's always going to be people cheering for you and behind your lane. And I think that's the best part about big meets like this is you get to see everybody try new things and have so much fun. So I really hope we can keep bringing the energy for Maine State. It's long, but at the end, as long as we're up and cheering and high-fiving, it's going to be a great meet.
Excellent. Stephanie Tropper, she's our female Bobcat of the week, victorious in the 500-yard freestyle and the 1,000-yard freestyle, as well as the 200-yard medley relay and the 200-yard freestyle relay there Saturday at Wesleyan. Thanks so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The cross-country season wrapped up on Saturday, as did our fall sports calendar. It's all winter sports from now until February. But first, cross-country head coach Danny Feldman joins the Bobcast to recap the NCAA Championships, where a pair of Bobcats, senior captain Andrew Motter and sophomore Leah White, competed as individuals. Well, Danny, cross-country season wrapping it up. We're getting track season started pretty soon, but let's talk cross-country. First of all, Andrew Motter, Leah White, both qualifying individually for nationals. Andrew is a senior doing that. I mean, he's been before with the team, but how proud were you of him having this kind of, breakthrough senior season?
His senior year, especially after he had gone abroad in the semester of the track season last year, sometimes it's hard to see exactly how people will come back, but he came back the fittest he's ever been. He was on that team that went out to East Lansing for the national meet his sophomore year, and he was in the starting 7 competing, which was fantastic. And to round out his final race, I think it was a bittersweet moment because, he's been running, I think, for 13 years cross country, dating back to elementary school. And he went out there and competed with the best in the country, finishing, I think, 104th. And I think we looked at the numbers. He was the 10th finisher in the NESCAC. So, it's really hard on the day to show up and have your best race against 294 other incredible runners in the US. Like, it's the only, maybe you can tell me, Aaron, but is there another sport where every team that qualifies for nationals competes against each other at the same time? And so I just think that there's a lot going on with that. And, that's a perfect segue, to Leah was also, this is her second nationals meet. Obviously, it was starkly different from last year in the sense that she was by herself. And I think this past weekend really showed how much the team energy can make a difference, because when your whole team's not there, it's not nearly as fun, but also it can be overwhelming in general, but it's a lot harder when it's just individuals. And so, she was dealing with a foot related thing. And then I think just the meet getting off and just feeling a little overwhelmed, and obviously things didn't go her way. And, but I tried to remind her and just the team as a whole that like one single meet is not dictating how we're viewing the season as a whole. And she's only gotten better as every single week has gone on. Just things didn't play out the way we would have liked in Terre Haute.
Yeah, for her, it's a learning experience, right? She's got 2 more years of this, so.
Absolutely. And just, seeing what it's like to compete on the national stage 2 years is very rare. There's not too many people that get to compete once, let alone twice. And so I view this as another feedback opportunity for us, so that once hopefully it comes again next year, that we feel prepared and ready.
Yeah, certainly. And I wanted to mention, going back to regionals briefly, the women got 3rd at regionals. And I thought that was a really strong performance for them in particular. What were your thoughts on how the teams performed there at regionals? Obviously, Tufts and MIT were kind of a buzzsaw, but the teams looked like they acquitted themselves pretty well, right?
I thought that they showed up big time. I think you noted one of the teams, which was MIT. They won the national title this past weekend, like convincingly, which is wild. But also, I tried to remind both of our teams, but especially the women's team at Conn College, their invitational in the middle of October. MIT, Williams, and NYU were all there. Those were 3 of the top 4 teams at nationals this past weekend. And come the regional meet, our women finished 3rd, and they fought really, really hard. And, I think the only downside is that if we had had the opportunity to knock off somebody earlier in the season, we might have had a fighting chance to go to nationals. But our sport's really hard because we only compete bi-weekly. It's really hard to have kids compete back-to-back weekends in a 6 or an 8K and expect them not to get injured. And so they showed up really well, but also 10 of our 14 kids that competed on the men's and women's side at regionals, that was their first time ever competing at regionals. And that's a lot. And a lot of those kids are also middle distance focused kids on the track side. So the fact is, we had kids step up big time and couldn't be happier.
Obviously, you coach the distance runners when it comes to track season, so we're moving right into that, right? You've got people probably competing in December. So, what are your thoughts on how cross country is preparing these athletes for track, in particular in your area, the distance?
Our program approach is a strength-based approach, which is if you can handle more weekly volume, we think it'll only get you stronger as a runner so that we can then tax you in workouts, which then can allow you to run fast times. I'll use an example of, you know, Jackson Mons and Ross Tejeda are both had their best cross country season ever. Ross is a guy, as you know, who was on that DMR team. Jackson was a alternate, and both of those guys were averaging about 70 miles a week for the entire cross country season. Jackson's running the 3K at New Balance next weekend, and Ross is going to go to BU, where I think Ross is going to be able to break, 4:10 in the mile, and I think Jackson Mons will be coming pretty darn close, if not hitting the 3K qualifier for New England's. And so I think that's a perfect example of the growth of some of our guys and women for putting in just more quality training. And we're just trying to ride that into this early December before they take a little bit of a breather. They focus on finals, and then we get back for the indoor season.
Well, let's talk also about what's next for like Andrew and Leah, the individual qualifiers for NCAAs. Are they going to be competing in December at all, or do you think, or wait till January? We'll see.
No, both of them are definitely going to be
Yep.
running in the meets next week. I think the real variable for a lot of our kids, Andrew included, Leah's probably going to run the mile or the 3K. We just have to see what the fields are like. But I was speaking to a colleague in the NESCAC who is going to be sending his full distance squad to the New Balance meet. The question is, we don't know who's getting into the 5K because they said they're only taking 35 runners. I would love for Andrew and some of his teammates to be in that, as well as on the women's side, the Demerit sisters, Gwen Anderson, Phoebe Pohl. But if they're only taking 35 people, and the Boston University facility has made their standards so crazy difficult that the only people that can qualify from Division III are those that are like All-American level, that have been an All-American. So, last year, if you remember, Ned ran the 5K. Ned could not have qualified in the 5K with his times from last year for this year. They have dropped them so much. So I think why I'm bringing that up is because it limits the opportunities, but I'm trying to give Andrew, Leah, and all the rest of our kids that are still training through into next week the opportunity to run a fast time so that then we take the pressure off of having to hit a qualifier for the New England Championships and can focus on training.
Excellent. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share about NCAAs and the trip? Two individuals qualifying for the Bobcats, and where it leaves us at this point in terms of building for the future here.
I guess I would say that I'm truly proud of how much all of our kids have improved, and it hurts that we didn't make it as a team. But objectively speaking, all of our kids were improving their times across the board. That if we're solely focused on the outcome at the end of the year, we're missing the point. And I really do think the culture of our team has never been better, and just everybody buying into doing their best. And so I think if we can continue that into the track season, we will be able to help the rest of the team and just continuing that momentum of trying to be our best selves. And I mean, you remember last year, I think the men on the indoor side finished fourth at New England's. I want to say the women were 12th or 13th, but it's like that felt really good to have everybody, fighting for something more than just themselves. And I think obviously New England's is a great way to cap it, but every single week matters. And I think my big takeaway is everybody really cared every single week of cross country. And I just hope we continue that into the next season.
All right, Danny Feldman, head coach of the cross country teams and distance coach for track and field. Thanks so much for joining the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Welcome, Aaron.
Men's squash and men's basketball dropped a pair of close contests last week, but both will get a chance to bounce back soon, with the men's basketball team competing Tuesday night at USM, and men's squash back in action a week from Friday in Boston against Connecticut College. Find the complete Bates athletic schedule online at GoBatesBobcats.com, and we'll catch you next time on the Bates Bobcast.